As you can see, I have unlocked 99 no-hitter John Donaldson. This is truly one of the greatest MLB The Show cards of all time. Just a behemoth of a starter who's also a two-way player and is a very good hitter as well. Like, this card is phenomenal. Probably the best card in the game, I would say. Maybe not in the game because, I don't know, there might be like a hitter that's better. But overall, easily the best pitcher in the game for the rest of the year. But everyone wants him, of course, and he is not easy to get. So today I'm going to be giving you guys my advice on how I got this John Donaldson no money spent. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys become a channel member to receive exclusive perks such as roster update advice from someone who's made over 10 million stubs this year, one-on-one coaching, and access to the members-only Discord, link in the description. Really quickly, I just wanted to remind you guys of the channel membership giveaway, which is going to be announced tomorrow if you're watching this the day this video was released. So if you want to enter for a chance to get a free first month of my brand new channel memberships, go to my video or go to my channel, scroll through the videos, and just click on the channel membership announcement video and leave a comment, and make sure you're subscribed as well. So obviously, like, there's one thing that I'm going to have to mention before I get into advice. And, you know, I've no money spent. I'm right at the stub cap, and I have more stubs too. I have these orders in just so I don't, you know, lose stubs because I haven't done my investments yet. But, like, obviously, if we go back to the collection, right, there are certain cards that have become insanely difficult to get. So there are some collections that this is going to be the last collection for that series. Those are Rookie, Breakout, Veteran, Contributor, Jolt, Color Storm. Well, Jolt and Color Storm are all non-sellable cards, so those are just offline grinds, right? But Contributor, Rookie, Breakout, Veteran, Second Half, Postseason, Standout. All of those vouchers, you need every single card. Like, it's very, like, that alone is difficult, but what that has done to the market for some of these cards is it's made this, like, super freaking difficult for a casual player. And I highly doubt that they're going to add any more cards in any of these series, and you're going to need every single one. And what that does is that skyrockets the market, of course, as it should, but there are select cards that you cannot get anywhere except the market. For example, previous inning bosses. This Adrian Beltre is extinct. It's a term that I came up with where I call I called a card an extinct card when there's literally not a single one that you can buy now. Like, this is an issue. If you want to get this Beltre and this voucher for Contributor, you're going to have to put in an order for $250,000 and wait in line because it goes in order of who did it, like who's been waiting the longest. So, like, I mean, you could skip Contributor, but it's like not one you want to skip. But basically, it's really challenging right now. I will say this is obviously no guarantee. I would not be shocked if SDS did something similar to what they did last time with, like, the Legends and Flashbacks players, because that Nolan Ryan went up to 100K. I would not be surprised if they added, like, a Rewind XP boss pack in a flash sale sometime this upcoming week, because it's just like, it's not fair to people who didn't play the game in the first. This was a first inning XP reward path guy where they physically cannot get this card even if they had the stubs, or they'd have to wait in a long line to get this card. So yeah, that's like one thing, and I'm going to go through every single voucher, but I think one thing I will say is we will 100% get a Rewind XP reward path, but that's going to be at the end of the year, so that's going to be all the way in November. Like, it's not confirmed, and this is just speculation, but I could see them doing a Rewind pack. But stuff like that alone, and there are some chase cards in here that have just completely skyrocketed, like this Jorge Posada. Like, my goodness, just insane. So it makes this really difficult, and obviously you can skip one voucher, but you don't want to skip one of these so-called easier collections. You know, and for me, like, I had all the bosses. I mean, I had every card in the game going into Donaldson's release. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go through every single one and just talk about what I did. First of all, the one voucher that I skipped was actually Moonshot, and I obviously ended up getting Hank Aaron right after. I don't know where he is. Yeah, I mean, this card is just insane. But anyway, I only skipped Moonshot because I just hadn't finished the program, and I got the Cornerstone guy, the new Cornerstone guys done, and I had everything else done. I would highly recommend not skipping Moonshot just because you have such a good player that you can have to your team. You know, I would probably skip awards. I would either skip awards. If you have all of these ones done where you need every single card, I would skip probably awards. That was probably the hardest one. Maybe Hall of Fame, but you only had to lock in like some Diamond Quest cards. But if you have one of these where there's just like a card or two that you literally cannot get your hands on, then that might be the one that you're going to have to skip. So yeah, obviously all the player collections were the same, but you know, moving down the line, let's take a look at Hall of Fame. And again, like I mentioned earlier with Color Storm and Jolt, those are just offline grinds, so you just have to grind the game, in all honesty. So yeah, let's take a look at Hall of Fame. So for Hall of Fame, this one was pretty, I don't want to say easy, but ultimately it was fine because a lot of these guys were from collections in the past. So like if you're trying to get Donaldson, you should probably already be up to Bautista. Maybe not Bautista, but like at least Allen and Wagner. And for Hall of Fame, like Ted Williams was a previous collection. Like there are a lot of non-sellable cards from programs and from collections like Williams, Parker, Allen, Wagner, CC. Who else? Ortiz was a former boss. Sandberg was a program. Gil Hodges is the NL. But like one thing that I mentioned in my video yesterday, do not do either the Hall of Fame or the awards voucher until you have the Soriano and the Greenberg, because that's not a free, but that's a non-sellable card that you can add to that collection that you don't want to have to lock in someone else that you don't need. So like for example, if you're sitting at let's go Soriano. If you're sitting at 15 vouchers, right, and you haven't done awards yet, but you could complete awards, do a different one first so that you get Soriano, so then when you go to awards, you don't have to lock in another sellable card. It's just something to keep in mind. Same thing with Hall of Fame. If you really need to get it done, like you can, you don't care, whatever, but I would highly recommend it, especially for Hall of Fame, because I think this was the perfect amount. All I locked in were Diamond Quest rewards, non-sellable cards, bosses from the XP reward path, Simmons and Ortiz, and then a multiplayer card. If I didn't have the Greenberg, I would have had to lock in George Brett, who's a chase. Who else is there? Raleigh Fingers is also a chase card. And then this Hannes Wagner just came out. Mike Piazza just came out. Vlad just came out. So they're all going to be expensive. Man, oh man, was I spot on with Finest. I got a comment in my video yesterday saying that someone who watched that video listened to me and invested heavily into Rob Nen and Jason Kipnis, and them thanking me. Like, those types of comments just make my day. Like, that's what I do. That's why I do these videos, because I'm passionate about this game. I know what I'm talking about, and I like to help people get to where I am, no money spent. And so that was just super rewarding. But I mean, I was completely right with Finest. I was pretty confident that there was going to be a voucher. It was the similar situation of stand out from the Scott Rowland collection. You know, Rob Nen went up a lot. Jason Kipnis also went up a lot. I bought like 5 of each of them. I probably should have bought more. But that's still like a double the return, more than double for what I bought. And obviously I had Bautista and Headley. So like, even if you don't have Headley, Kipnis, Nen, Bautista, it's still pretty easy, I would say, for Finest. Moving on to awards, and I gotta say, awards was definitely the hardest one, at least right now. I had to lock in a lot of expensive players for awards. Ultimately, I ended up going with Jackie and Randy because they crashed in price because they're in the Rewind Weekend Classic card. Like, they're a Rewind pack, or they're in that Rewind pack, so their value is not as much. Basically, I just wanted to lock in players that I knew wouldn't have more value in the future than other cards. For example, like this Fernando Tatis Jr., while he might be more expensive than Mark McGwire, he's going to crash in price because he's just going to be in a Rewind pack in a couple days with the new multiplayer program. McGuire is always going to be expensive because he's a chase card. Like, and I mean, it doesn't really matter that much for me because I just get every card in the game regardless. But like, these are things that you guys are going to want to think of. And yeah, like you guys could wait a couple of days if you know you're not going to get Donaldson for like a few weeks. You might as well wait for this card to crash before you buy him. But like, besides that, obviously all the non-sellable cards, all the multiplayer cards here for rewards, I had to lock in a chase in Joe Mauer. Let me see if there's anyone else. These were all from the Bautista. But yeah, Martinez and Walker, like, these are cheap multiplayer cards. Corbin Burns, yeah, he was a weekend classic. I did collect Soriano, like I mentioned earlier. Make sure you guys do that strategy. And then, you know, more weekend classic, more offline players, some more Diamond Quest, and then a couple headliners that went up in price. This one's not that expensive though. But awards, if you have all the vouchers that you need every card for, this is probably the one to skip. Although awards, I think, is the hardest one right now. I think Milestone is definitely right up there with awards. This one is pretty difficult. I don't think it's as bad as awards because I didn't have to lock in a chase card. I only ended up locking in multiplayer, like all non-sellable cards, multiplayer program rewards, old weekend, like weekend classic rewind cards, and Diamond Quest cards, and headliners too. So pretty much everything except chase cards, and I had to lock in at least one for awards. So basically, I ended up doing all the no-sell card. Like, all right, I just said that. I'm not going to repeat myself, but ultimately, I didn't have to lock in Babe Ruth. I didn't have to lock in Chipper Jones. I really didn't want to have to do either of those two, and I didn't. Spotlight, for me, was very easy because I already have all of the Lightning collections done. So if you have all the Lightning collections done, like, you should be fine. You might need to buy a couple extra players, like 2 or 3, but ultimately, if you have, yeah, like, if you have all of the Spotlight collections done, I think I locked in 3 of the June, or like, I think I already had an extra June one locked in, but I locked in the other 2. So like, you basically need 3 extra cards outside of all the Lightning collections, and obviously that's not easy. Or that is including the new Brandon Marsh and the two new September ones. And obviously this is not easy. I'm not saying it is. It was just like pretty simple for me because I already had all of them done. And then obviously for Cornerstone, this is just all offline grinding, and you have the chance to get all these cards because they have the rewind in that pack. But lastly, Topps Now here. Kind of the same thing with Spotlight. This one, I mean, these guys are just all cards that are either in the Spotlight programs or on the market. So you just had to, quite frankly, just buy all of them. They're all pretty cheap, but it does add up, of course. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new here, follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. But most importantly, make sure you subscribe if you're new to YouTube. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.